Welcome to Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Navguzi Chwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. Thank you for tuning into episode 110, and the title is Healing is Every Day with Sarah Nankunda. Today, as we close the Mental Health Awareness Month, whose theme was anxiety, we have an important guest to engage with, and we equally want to give our listeners a content warning upfront. We'll be exploring a sensitive subject matter involving maladaptive coping mechanisms and suicide. If you feel that this topic might be triggering or uncomfortable for you, I encourage you to skip this episode and tune in next time. Your well-being is important to us, so please prioritize your mental health. If you have decided to continue listening, I appreciate your trust and assure you that we shall approach this topic with the utmost care and sensitivity. And if our conversation resonates with you, we would appreciate your feedback on social media using the hashtag #HTNKInSession or tag us. We are at hashtag Navguzi Chwanuka. With me today is Princess Aimar, also formerly known as Sarah Nankunda. Welcome to hashtag Navguzi Chwanuka.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
Finally.
My goodness, I have wanted. You know that thing like you have a celebrity crush?
It's okay.
Yes.
It's a good thing that you've said like.
No, it's not like. It means, you know how you have a celebrity crush and you finally meet their celebrity?
Don't do that.
You are.
No, don't do that.
Please accept it.
No, I'm not taking
Receive.
That. No. The celebrity problem, they don't want to be there.
I know.
So welcome to hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka.
Thank you for having me.
So for someone who does not have a single awareness of who Princess Aimar or Sarah Nankunda is, please introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Nankunda Sarah. That's the one on the national ID. But I'm commonly known as Aimar. Aimar is a boy's name, actually. It means home.
How are you? Did you transition?
That is a very good question. That is a very good question.
We're in the age of transitioning.
We're in the age of transitioning. The name was given to me, actually. It's more of a given name. And I loved it from day one when it was given to me. Aimar is, she's a poet. I think that is where the name is commonly known, the Aimar name. She's a poet. She's an MC. So that is Aimar. So now let's introduce Sarah Nankunda.
Okay.
Sarah Nankunda is professionally, I'm a hotelier. I work in hospitality and I work with the Latitude 0 degrees. I am a mental health advocate and I'm also a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When I read the message, of course, I just overlooked it. Summary, because we had a conversation and I saw the part of mental advocacy, and probably because I don't follow you and I don't see the work. So I was a little bit confused, like, is that so? So when someone hears Princess Aimar, for the most part, the one that is commonly known, they might be wondering, why is she at hashtag Navguzi Chwanuka? So help us, take us through. What was it like growing up?
Wow. Just going back on that bit of, you looked through, when I mentioned the mental health advocates, and then you look through my page like, I didn't
go there.
Oh,
I didn't go there, but
good you didn't. Good you didn't. But so I'm not a very much Facebook person. I think I've just really failed to know how to handle Facebook. Every person has like that, their favorite social media, and mine is Twitter. So that is where, at least mostly, when you mention mental health advocates on Twitter, my name will show up. Okay. But why I came to this beautiful space, I have listened quite a few of your podcasts, and the last one that intrigued me to actually send you that message was the last conversation we were holding on anxiety. And this was like directed personally to me. And I said, no, I want to have this conversation. And there's one why I want to have this conversation. I'm speaking from a perspective of, I don't know if I should use the term patient, clinically diagnosed patient with a high intensive anxiety. And as also a mental health advocate and a person who handles a lot of those cases, I thought to myself that we should have this conversation more often. And then you asked a question of, what was it growing up?
What did Luke tell Sarah? Because
it looked.
Wait, were you already Aimar at that time?
No, I was Aimar from primary 6.
Okay, so
Yes.
what did little Sarah look like?
Little Sarah. I was a very quiet child.
Quiet.
Very quiet. And I think that is because I was a very shy girl growing up, which people say I still am. And, I find myself in the mirror asking, am I shy or am I not? I don't. But yes, I was a very quiet girl. Because I was very much afraid of mistakes, I always stayed out of trouble. So I can't really say I was beaten a lot. There was no reason to beat me. And then I was friendly, but like the friendliness is me assuming that we are friends, but you don't know that we are friends.
Oh, how is that?
Okay, so because I was very quiet and very distant, of course, when I was young, I didn't know what that was until I kept growing up. So we are talking about the Sarah who was really young. I look at a person and I'd like their character and I like how they behave and I want to be their friends. So like I'll just write notes in my book. Nabuguzi is my friend. I like how she dresses. I like how she talks. I think she's smart. But I never approach Nabuguzi. And maybe my approaching would be more like action, but I won't speak. So I would come and offer you something and walk away. Or I see you looking for something and I know where it is and I offered it to you and I walk away. So this is me thinking at some point you will notice that, but there's someone. Because I pay attention a lot to people's actions and I would know their intentions. So I think my mind would process that finally Nabuguzi will see that there's this girl who offers me things, there's this girl who offers me a seat. I think I should start talking
sit back and wait.
Yeah, and wait.
Okay, so
I fear rejection.
So you're very sorry because those rejections are going to keep coming. This fear of rejection. But before we jump onto it, when you mentioned that you were quiet, my question was going to be why? Because most times there are things that happen that draw us to a certain spectrum of either introversion or extroversion or just be in between. So when you mentioned that part of being silent as a child, kids are inquisitive. They want to ask all the questions. They want to know why they are told to do particular things or why they are being stopped from doing specific things. So as a kid, I don't know if you've had moments of drawing back to your younger days and find out what was home like. Was it a space that allowed you to express yourself?
Yes, very much so. I grew up in a home that was very big. I was raised by my grandparents. Unfortunately for me, I was never raised by my parents ever. And I did not know my parents until I was older, For example, I didn't know my mother until I was like 23. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry for reacting like that. Oh my God.
Yes. And
I expected like teenage at least.
No, I was 23. I was a
your
woman.
Grandmother, is that your paternal or maternal grandmother?
Paternal.
Yeah.
Paternal. And then my father was ish in my life, but to know that, this is my dad. I think I was like about 10 or something. So I was raised by my grandparents and my grandparents, of course, had children that were my age who technically they're my uncles and aunties, yes. But growing up, they were siblings. So it was a big home, really. And very chaotic home for that matter. Because I was raised by a man and my grandfather mostly, who would just go on a journey, then come back with a child. Some child he has picked from somewhere because he saw the child starving and he decides, wait, I have food at home. So yes, I can say the home I grew up in provided that space of speaking, but I think it was more of a me issue because there was just always that moments that would come and I'd hear everyone call mom and dad And I just never called anyone that. So I'm a Mnyarwanda, yeah? So it was Kaka and Papa.
I didn't know that part.
Oh, you did? And I'm glad you didn't ask.
Because, like the name Nankunda itself, it just draws to the uncle.
To the
Because for love in Kinyarwanda, there is a Rukundo.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Rukundo also.
But here's what's funny. So let me... Usually why my tribe is something I don't go and talk about. For a few people that have been in my life for longer, I'm a person I comfortably speak 7 languages.
Wow.
And mostly I tell people I'm an Acholi. Yes. Because they hear me speak Acholi and they say, I'm an Acholi. Because for 2 years of my life, I lived in Gulu and I loved it there. Then I met my stepmother who was amazingly great to me. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like home to me. And
she's a Choli.
Shout
out to the Acholi.
Yes.
Thank you so much for loving us.
I'm an Acholi. I felt but your Nankunda, I also don't know, but I'm an Acholi. So when
we're drawing back to that part where you didn't have
yes.
Mom and dad to call.
So I would sit and, my uncles and aunties are running, calling mom and dad, and I didn't have that. And I don't know if it's just something that my brain decided to do at that age where, regardless of the love I was being given, I just felt like it was never the same.
There are questions.
Questions, but then I could not ask the questions,
Mm-hmm.
Because
you found ungrateful.
I would be found ungrateful. We're giving you everything because I started staying with my grandparents as young as 3 years. I think that's when now my grandfather gets to find me. So technically, this is a home. This is your mom and dad. I mean, they're not your biological, but they have provided. So why are you asking the questions?
Mm-hmm.
So I taught myself suppressing.
Yeah.
I had the questions as a child. I was a very curious child. Being the very detailed person that I am, I have a lot of whys, but I don't ask them because for some reason, I don't know why back then I would feel like there would be someone being agitated.
Conflict.
Why is she asking?
Mm-hmm.
This is showing ungratefulness.
Yeah.
So I just decided, what? Silence is always a good thing. And I fear confrontations a lot.
Can we just say you fear conflict?
I do so much. So I am hurt, but then when I start thinking of the process of me approaching you, that I am hurt, there has to be a lot of questions there and a lot of intensity that might happen. And I cannot handle that. So I'll shh and cover up and cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the child that I would be beaten at school. And even when the fighting of children and I get bruised, I would cover it up. Make sure it's not seen because there's going to be questions.
Yeah, and then someone is going to get into trouble.
Exactly.
And then you're going to be...
And this person will be beaten. Or because the older siblings we grew up in a home that had more boys than girls.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very protected. Yeah, we grew around boys that, get away from my sister, that kind. And I would just rather not let the other person face this. So I would cover up the wound and, maybe I'm going to try and it's really painful, but I make sure I die with the pain alone, just to make sure the other person does not get in trouble. And the once in a while when of course, there's that chaos that is going to happen at home and, the parents won't want to know who did what. All of you were there.
Yeah.
So now that is the point where I would get into the trouble. Not necessarily because I did it, but someone put me in that trouble. But I'm also not going to defend myself that I wasn't there. So I keep quiet and take the beating.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
No.
Oh my God, you didn't have to beat me at all. We were going to fight about it. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
When you found yourself scared of conflict, do you ever feel like you grew into a child that was people pleasing?
At some point of my life, yes. For the past 2 years, I can say we are growing out of it.
For the past 2 years?
Yes, for the past 2 years. But when I say that out loud, I also sit and look at myself. I'm like, but...
Are we there yet?
Are we there? What have we done though? What have we done? But why I'm saying for the past 2 years we are working on it, it's I feel like lately I am more learning to make the scary decisions. I am learning that confronting certain things, it is part of life and it is part of healing as an individual. Yes.
Yeah. When you speak about healing and as someone that has been diagnosed with intensive or intense anxiety, I don't know what you called it, I forget.
It's intensive anxiety.
How did we get to that place?
So,
I'm assuming you went for therapy.
I did. I was technically dragged into therapy. I didn't wake up and say, let's go for therapy. No, I was dragged there. As a child, a lot of unpleasant things happened to me in the age where I was now starting to have a mind of my own. And those things, as I kept growing, they truly affected my life.
What is that?
I was defiled as a child at about the age of 11.
I'm sorry about that.
About the age of 11, and it happened, over and over. And, after breaking from that, when I became a teenager, that's like from the age of 14, this is now when what happened at that period start hitting into my life. Because from that point is where I became more distant. Yes, I was always a distant as a child, but from that point it became worse. I remember missing school for like 2 years of my life because I detested being around people. I detested noise. I detested touch. I detested anything that has to connect with my skin. So bad that every time I was at school, that is now I'm a teenager, it's either I'm going to end up in a hospital because I passed out because of noise, or because someone touched me and I start reacting very badly, or because someone just decided it was okay to sit next to me. I couldn't. I didn't. Nobody prepared me for that. And now these things are happening to me and I don't know what is happening. Because for the teenage part of my life was now staying by myself. By 14 years, I was staying by myself.
How is that?
I was working and staying by myself.
Working?
Yes.
14?
Yes.
What happened?
Let's just say I reached a certain point and I told myself that the longer I stay into that home, I might die, because that is where it was happening from at some point. And then I moved away from that home, not like the one I was taken to is any better anyway. So I just decided, no, if there is no life after me leaving this door, then I'm definitely not supposed to be part of the life. But whatever is out there is much better than what is here. Yeah. So
did you have a conversation with an elder in that home for you
about what was happening?
Exactly, for you to be moved to another home.
The first time I did have a conversation with an elder who told me, shush, no one can ever hear that because no one is going to believe you. And then I was taken to the other home, which was the other home. The deferment was not happening, but there was mistreat because you're now moved from your grandparents. You're used to normal. Let's put the other context aside, but and the other home, it is a total mistreat of, I don't want even to use the word stepmother, because at some point in my life I met my stepmother. She was amazing. But this is more like now child mistreating. And I'm now growing into a girl. And yes, I was a quiet child, but it's just what is not right was never right. I never voiced it. I never spoke about it, but I would know that this is not right, that no human being deserves this, So I think that is the point where I reached, and I'm like, I think it's time we try this life thing by ourselves. I mean, like 14, almost 15. So, yeah.
And where did you go?
Oh, I was in Bali. Yeah, I love that city very much.
Hold on. You moved
from Kampala. So I moved from Kampala. Now they take me to Mbale to that other home.
Oh, so someone took you.
Yes. No, not me.
Okay.
Yes, not me living by myself. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so from there is like when I leave that home, I'm like, you know what? There is more we can do.
Seeing you leaving these homes, am I taking this to be that you had someone to confide in and they were ready to place you in a safe space?
No, there was no one.
How were these decisions being made for you to move, from your grandparents to this home that just mistreats you, and now you're moving to Mbale?
So the moving to the home that mistreats me, not like the person my grandparents knew I was going to, because it was a family member. More like we are taking you for a better school. You're going for school. Yeah, so they're moving me from the village. They're now taking me to Kampala to go for, better school and all. But reaching there, it was not that. It was totally different. There was school, but with, you do this.
The house.
Yeah. And afford school. Yeah.
So that's where you're working.
Yes.
Going to school. Damn.
No. Now, the actual working where you're being paid money was now when I'm not in anyone's home. I'm now by myself. You get my point?
What work were you doing?
My first ever job, I worked in a sports betting. Yeah. I know.
Which year is this? 14, I didn't know sports betting.
I was 15. 15
Even 15. I think I saw these things at the university.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know.
Let's. I started when I was mature, because again, I had a lot of sicknesses as a child, so I would sit home for a year, sit home for a whole term. So I started when I was quite mature.
No, we're still talking about 15, my dear.
We're still
talking about 15.
About 15.
We are still talking about 15 because that is not mature.
It is mature. Believe me, 15 years is mature too.
No. Forget the things that girls are doing now.
Yeah.
15, I had nothing. I didn't know anything.
I think more like, for me, I think it's more of like what life presents to us at that particular moment, because I was not the only girl who was that young and I was hustling life. There were quite many of us.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my high school, that's like now Form 1, and I was not the only girl who was looking for my own school fees. Yeah, because I remember at some point I shared a room with a girl who was my age.
You were renting?
Yeah, we were renting. And then I asked her, what is your story? I would be interested to know, because of course, by that age, I've normalized just being myself. I'm an adult anyway. But then
you're not an adult.
I would look at the focus. I'm like, why are you here? But I also
let me take you back a bit.
Yes.
So did you just run away from that home?
I didn't run, really. I won't say run. I just reached at this point. So now the home, I was moved to Mbale from the Kampala home, which was, the street was 101. Mm-hmm. The Mbale home would have been the safe home. This person really took care of me and all that. But they were never home. So I was under someone else who really wouldn't care whether you've eaten, you've gone to school. Like, man, we are all surviving kind of mode. Like, for me, in my head, there was no difference, honestly. There was no difference.
From the home in Kampala?
Yes, from the home in Kampala to now this home in Mbale. So I just told myself, you know what? We're at an age where we can now make our own decisions. We're at an age where we can choose where we want to be and what we want to do. And whatever is happening here is not what I think I want to keep seeing. So for that home in Mbale, my reason for leaving and making a decision that I think let's do life by ourselves was because of the things I was seeing in that home that it just were mentally disturbing for me, given of the history of, what had happened. And I just decided there surely should be something different out there than what I have seen for all these years of my life.
Yeah.
Let's try that by ourselves and see how that goes.
And when do you meet your darling stepmother?
My darling stepmother. So I think I was about I think I was going to like P4. Like I said, so my studying does not have like this year I was here, this year I was here. 1 year I could be home, and then the next year like, oh, I think let's try her school again, something of that sort. But I think it was like P4. So it's now when my dearest father shows up and he's like, oh, you have a family. I said, okay. And
that is to your dad?
Yes, that is my dad. So now he shows up because I reached a point and I kept pestering my grandfather. I want my dad. I can never see my mom, but at least I want my dad. For some reason, my mom was never talked about a lot like my father. So my dearest grandfather stands up and starts looking for my dad. I don't know where he found him, but he did find him after quite some time. So my father shows up and I was so excited and all those kind of things. So finally my father says like, oh, I think it's time you meet your sibling. Because from my both parents, I'm an only child. So that's how I meet my stepmother. They moved me now. I moved from my grandfather. So my dad was a soldier. I go to the barracks now. That is where I meet my dearest stepmother. She was amazing. They had already had kids, which something also I struggled to somehow digest. Yeah, my father had kids
that he was taking care of, and
like,
not you.
Okay, I am your firstborn, and it was okay for you to just not even bother that I existed, but you went ahead and had other kids. But of course, that's not something you speak out. But the reception was quite amazing. These children were so excited to have an elder sister that it just didn't sit well with me for some time. They were all over me. They could tell anyone who cares to listen that they have an elder sister. And it's me. And they'll just go in schools with their friends and they're showing off how they have an elder sister. Like, I don't want to.
I don't want to be your elder sister.
I don't want to be an elder sister. I wanted an elder sister as well, But yes, so that's where I met my stepmother.
And you didn't stay with them?
I think we stayed for a little time. Then they had to leave. I don't know whether they separated, but something happened. She disappeared with her children. So now it's just me and my dad. She later came back though. Yeah, she later came, but sometimes she was away. So now it's just me and my father. And now we're in a barracks, which is not a totally different environment. And now I think being the loner part now really kicks in because my father was never home most of the time. He was never home. So it was just me in the house and like, I am taking care of myself. Oh, yeah, he would make sure I've gone to school, but how I come back from school is not the part he would be most available for. Sometimes he comes home, sometimes he doesn't. So that is now where the mentality of, I think why the living alone later was not hard, it's because I'd done it before. The only part here is that I'm not the one paying the bills. That was the difference. Yeah. There's a house, there's everything. You're just in it by yourself.
We're going back to the diagnosis.
Yes.
How did you feel? At what point did you feel like I need to see? You mentioned earlier that you were drugged to a therapist. Who is this person that drugged you there?
So at some point in my life, I was staying with this friend of mine where, time came and they had to move abroad. So now I'm left in this house alone, I'm doing school. By that time, the job I was doing was not there anymore. But there was someone helping me through my school fees, and also that person decides, life is moving on for them. So they're like, listen, I am so sorry that I'm leaving, but I have to. I need to pursue different things in my life, but I'm sure you'll be okay. That's what they said. So I'm left in this house by myself, I think with a bed. Yeah. So in that gate we were staying, there was a gentleman that used to stay in the same gate. And it was a group of like 5 guys. They were pharmacists. They used to work for different pharmacies and all not. But there was this one specific guy who was a psychologist. So when this girl, I wake up in the morning and she has actually left, like she has flown out of the country. I'm like, wait, how am I supposed to do this alone again by myself? So of course, I think now that is where I would say episode 2 of life hits again. if that makes sense. So I paused school. By the time she left, I think we had like 2 weeks to finish the second term exams. I went for like 3 days, and the episode started happening again of me passing out every time, of me just screaming at people or going to the washrooms and locking myself and starting to bang the walls or bang my head. Again, it's important to know that back then I did not know what was happening with me. I didn't know. At some point at school, I was called the mad girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people would see my reaction. My fellow students would see my reaction. I would... at some point, I had to draw that character of the mean girl. But I couldn't be mean. But it is the only way I could make people stay away from me. So I had to draw the mean chick character.
It's a protectiveness.
Yes, the protectiveness. So when the episodes kept happening, one time I passed out at school. There are 2 girls, they knew where I used to stay. So they bring me back home. That day they brought me home, this gentleman was home.
The psychologist?
Yes, but this is a guy who just says good morning and that's it. So that day they bring me back home and he was there. So he takes me to the room, takes care of me, gives me what to eat, whatnot. So from that point, he started being so interested in my life. And for me, the first mindset was, wow, really? You know, like you just want to take advantage.
Yeah.
You get? Yeah. The point where he decided that I should go and see a therapist was at one point when he came home, knocked the door and I was not opening, which is because I had slit myself. So he breaks the door and I was lying on the floor with drugs here and alcohol there, and then I'm bleeding. And that was the point he decided that, you know what, it is time that we face whatever is it that you are battling with at that particular moment. Because he got to find out the abusing of drugs, because whenever these episodes would happen, I just wanted to black out. Until today, I still struggle to sleep. Sleeping is not something I have...
It doesn't
opportunity to just grab.
To just grab.
Yes, I can't just grab sleep. No. So these episodes, whenever they would come, I would just find anything that can make me sleep. Anything.
How? Because I'm looking at you as a high school child.
Oh yes, I was a high school child with a lot of freedom.
Yes, freedom. How do you come to an awareness? Did you go for an over-the-counter prescription to find something that makes you sleep? Were you having conversations?
I was having conversations
with your friends and they were telling you that this can actually work?
Yeah. I was having conversations with friends. And among the friends I was having conversations with, these are friends that had parents that were doctors or nurses and whatnot. But what they didn't have to introduce me to was the alcohol bit. I just would hear people who drink like, oh, if you take too much of it, you just black out.
And these are all of them are your classmates?
Yes, all of them are my classmates, really. Because before I got to know of all those things, I would sit in my corner until the sun comes out. My brain could not sleep. And then what would happen is either I get out of the house when everyone has slept and I just sit in the middle of the compound and I freeze myself. I sit in that coldness. Anything to just not make it feel so loud in my head, you know, or try so hard to make sure I get away from anything. Because I would really fight so hard to make sure I don't harm myself. Because it would be painful, really. So in the moments that I would sit in a blank space and just maybe hold my head or hold something very tight until it eventually passes. Because you're shaking, you're shivering, you're yearning to feel pain. There's that point where I want to feel pain.
It's something that happens a lot when we are battling. Okay, not all of us.
Yeah.
When some people are battling with what's happening inside of them.
Yes.
And at least what is outside can numb.
Yes.
Because in most cases, physical pain is the one that makes sense
to
us. At least we can see. When we are bleeding, at least we can touch and stop the bleeding, which is totally different from what we are experiencing in our inner world. You can't massage out the pain. You can't numb the voices. So most times you find yourself in that direction. And now with how many years since you were diagnosed with this kind of anxiety?
I think it's been over about 10 years.
10, it's a decade.
Yeah.
2013?
Yes.
About that time?
About that time.
What has it been like ever since you got the diagnosis?
Tough. Tough. Really, really tough. How even this person brought to me waking up and realizing there's a psychiatrist seated next to my bed. That is now in the hospital. I've woken up from another episode. This person introduces to me, so this is so she handles this and this, what, and we really think you're sick.
You're sick.
I said, no, I'm not sick.
Exactly.
I'm not sick.
Yeah.
I just had an attack. I'm not sick. And this person had to be brutal. Like, listen, I have been writing down every single minute that you have had an attack and the things you've done. So they start reading all the things. This done, this they did, this done, this they did. Look at your hands, look at all that. And it was hard for me to accept, really. Because I remember at some point, so now that person's like my guardian at that point, the person who's taking me to the therapist. And they told me you have two options. To start the treatment, or I don't put you through school anymore. Those were the options. And I wanted to be put through school.
Yeah.
So I had to. What made it hard for me was the point of coming to understanding that it was just not in my head. Because whenever these things would happen and I tried to speak to a person, they'll say, those things are just in your head. The problem with you, Aimar, you have this character of a white person living in you. That's how it used to be. It's just in your head. You're just overthinking it.
What was it like being affirmed?
It was terrible. Because then whenever the episode is happening, I am looking at myself as a failure. Like, you can't really control what is in your head. You know, you're just letting this define you, kind of a thing. It's not even happening. It's not even real. So it wasn't a pleasant moment to live in.
Yeah,
really. So now there's a person who's telling me it's actually a disease.
That's what I was asking when I asked what was it like to be affirmed that, hey, it's not just in your head.
There was a relief. Like, no, it's not in my head.
Yeah,
I am actually sick. But there was also like, what?
So I'm sick.
I'm sick. I'm actually mad because there's there also the group of kids are like that. She has a problem. She's mad. Who does these things? Who bangs herself on the wall for no reason? Yeah. So now there is an affirmation that you're sick. A relief, and I don't like it at the same time.
Answers you were looking for, but now you don't want to hear
them. I don't think I'm ready to hear them, kind of moment. Yes. So, but at some point I had to accept that we are here and we need help.
How long did that take you?
I think it took me about 6 months.
6 months
of accepting the help without now having to be forced.
Without having the stigma in your head?
Yes, without having the stigma in my head. Yeah, about 6 months. And for me, I think the acceptance coming earlier was because I was exhausted. My body, my brain, I was exhausted. So I was at that stage of anything to be normal. I am willing to take it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful when you make that decision.
Yes, it is
we
powerful.
are ready to go through all the hell, but we're going to make this work. Because healing, when you look at healing, it doesn't just come straight forward.
It doesn't.
What are some of the things that you might have had? I don't know if you've had any misconceptions when it comes to anxiety.
It's in your head, honestly. And for me, it saddens me that sometimes I hear the mental health advocates when they're talking about anxiety, how they tell people, most of the time it's just in your head. Most of the times it's something you can do away with for as long as you don't allow your mind to sink in there. And what people don't know about anxiety is that the smallest of things can cause the worst attack possible. The smallest of things. I would give a scenario of myself. So I'm a person who really likes things very organized. What I mean is from when I say we have a meeting at 4, at 7 a.m., I am going to send a message. We have a meeting at 4. At 10:40, I'll send a message checking in. Are you aware we have a meeting? At 2, I will as well. And if it reaches 2:30 and you're not communicating, I start panicking. What could have happened? Why are you not responding? Have you changed your mind? Why are you not speaking to me that you've changed your mind? Because this meeting is what my entire day has been planned on. I have to do this and this and this, and then I have a meeting. What are we talking about this meeting and all that? And then you're not communicating to me. I'm just giving a scenario of how small the things can be. So you not responding, my mind is starting to have questions. And I'm starting to think, at what point did you decide that it was okay for you to not communicate? You get that? Then before I know it, I'm not even aware, but before I know it, my hands are sweating. Before I know it, my hands are shaking. Before I know it, I'm starting to feel like there is something I probably didn't plan.
I'm rejected.
Why are they not talking? They should have at least let them tell me that I was not fit for the meeting, you know? And then it just...
Let me take you back.
Yes.
What was it like for us? I didn't talk to you the whole day.
That is quite interesting. Yesterday I checked, because the last we spoke, you're like, I will send an email.
Yeah, and I only remember today.
So yesterday I checked, I'm like, she didn't send an email. Did she cancel? But then I also didn't have a contact. So then I told myself...
But you had my email address.
Yes. So I said, maybe send the email. I was like, but they say they will send the email. The organization I talk about is just what you say should be done like that unless you tell me otherwise.
I have that as well.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know how you would have managed doing this, because recently I had a guest to show up. And I was telling her to do something specific and she wasn't doing it. And at some point I felt like, is she in doubt to have this conversation? And I'm telling her, you have to do this. And she's asking for something opposite. And I was like, has she seen the message that I sent? and I think she was busy.
Yeah.
No, yesterday I don't know where I was. To be honest.
You know, when I talked about these 2 years, we are trying our best to be to look at life for what you won't plan for.
Yeah,
something like that. So yesterday about us, I told myself, she will send. Just be patient. I woke up in the morning and the first thing I did was to check my emails.
It's really strange because I sent a certain email yesterday.
Yes,
that I was supposed to send Friday evening. But I didn't have a single recollection of this because from when you had last seen me, I had to go and meet an uncle
we lost someone.
I'm so sorry.
They were
to hear
returning to Rwanda, so we met them, and I must have settled into my bed past midnight. So in my mind, I knew I was supposed to send the email. I didn't send on Friday. What else did I have to do? Edit. But then the day just refused and I had to go back into bed. I had no single awareness, but I knew we were supposed to meet because that was already set.
Yes.
So hearing you go through all these,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh dear. Because I think I only called you at 4 something.
Yes, I was something. By that time, because today was actually an interesting day. So I think it being an interesting day, it just kept me positive, because also I told myself, I refused to tell myself she will cancel. I was like, she does not look like a type who cancels. So definitely
anything can
the
happen
meeting.
and I cancel.
So definitely the meeting will happen. I just chose to know that the meeting will happen. I chose to believe that. And that put me through my day, which is that like, go there earlier. Of course, I had to meet someone here earlier. And so I checked my email again at 2. There was no email. I just said, she's coming. She's just busy. She's coming. But us coming to that conversation was me communicating that I wish we stop telling people, especially people who are clinically diagnosed with anxiety. Even if they are not, even if you don't have that, but if someone actually tells you scenarios or lets you know that they struggle with anxiety, I don't think the best sentence to put out first is it's in your head.
Okay. I'm going to be guilty here, because I've also had therapists that mention that exact statement. And I sort of understand where they're coming from with it. Probably because I've had studies on emotional intelligence where you have to go into negotiations with yourself. Like there is your mind telling you run, but then you have to go back and like, do we really have to run? And go into those self-negotiation conversations. So before you know it, you are trying to calm yourself. And this is where I'm coming with it. Like after the diagnosis, how do you deal with it? Okay, you've mentioned that part where you're affirming yourself, like, no, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. But besides that, is there a way how you help yourself go through some of these episodes?
Oh, yes. I rarely, at least now, my episodes are not as frequent as they used to. And this is because, one, how I got to learn how to cope with myself. I enrolled into a course that was for about 2 years, mind meditation combined with yoga. And for me, being in that space for 2 years, because we would go in and out of, was more like a camp.
Like the monks?
Yes, like the monks. And for me, that was the time that I truly, life turned for me. My whole self changed. I learned self-awareness. I learned acceptance. I learned self-affirmations. And I learned what the beautiful part of it most was learning how to deal with the human brain as far as emotions are concerned, as far as mental health is concerned, in a society that we are still pushing the information out, and the society that is still struggling to receive that information. So in that period, when I was learning acceptance, which was the hardest for me, because acceptance means you revisit how we got here.
How did we get here? Yeah.
You have those conversations over again from the fresh wound of it. That's what they were teaching us. Sit in that mirror and meditate so deep that the other person, whatever it is that hurt you, is seated in front of you and they're doing it all over again. that reaction.
That is hard.
It is. It is. Some people don't actually make out of it. They just end it and go home.
That's very triggering.
Yes.
Are there people to help you with that?
Yeah,
Well,
they are. They are there.
I can't
Because
imagine
there's
having to
usually
go through it
a
alone.
person seated next to you.
Oh, great.
Yes, there's a person seated
Great.
next to you. And they're letting you face this conversation, but they're also letting you know that this time around, it's not just you. There is someone to help you. Now, for me, revisiting those conversations again, I actually had the boldness to have that conversation of my life publicly. Publicly talk about it. So that taught me to accept that when an attack is coming, I don't suppress it. I allow it to come. I think another problem we do, you're telling someone to suppress what they're feeling because it's in their head. Now, when I talk about suppressing, this causes me anxiety. Goodness, crossing the road causes me anxiety. It causes me anxiety.
Like all roads or those that are wide?
All roads.
Yeah.
For as long as it's a road and I have to cross it.
I don't like those wide roads.
All roads. I have accepted that I have anxieties while crossing the roads. So what I do, whoever is next to me, I am so sorry you're holding my hand.
Oh dear.
Yes. Yes. Because
whether it's a stranger or not.
Whether it's a stranger or not.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I just either going to just
how did you deal with COVID? You were not supposed to get in touch with people.
COVID, I was home. Why was I getting in touch with people? COVID, I was home. But my COVID was amazing, though. My COVID was quite amazing. I was very busy in my COVID time because I had a lot of cases that were coming in. But also there was so much, self-awareness in COVID. I did a lot of yoga. I did a lot of meditations. I learned a lot of things online. So COVID was okay for me. But when I accept that I can't cross the road, I am going to get nervous and I'm going to get, I remember there's a time I actually got anxiety attack in the middle of the road. I stopped walking.
Oh yeah.
My legs could not move. I stopped. And God sent someone and they just carried me off the road. I just stopped. So I sound like, no, we can cross the road. You're grown up. You can cross the road. I take myself, cross the road. I promise you, I reached the middle of the road. I could not move. I froze.
Yeah.
I stood there and just held myself in the middle of the road. The first mistake I did was to suppress the fear I have because there was someone who was definitely willing to help me cross the road. And from that moment, I refused to accept that I am actually afraid of crossing the road.
You can't deny.
You can't
deny facts.
You can't. But it still happens that when a few of people I tell, like, you guys, I'm afraid of crossing, like, it's just in your head. You think the cars are not seeing that you're moving.
They don't see other people that they run over.
Exactly. I'm like, people they kill, they don't see them. It's like, Aimar, these are things that are just in your head. And there's the way that thing triggers me when someone says just in your head. But when I accepted that crossing roads is something I cannot do by myself, I ask for help. Sometimes I politely ask someone, please hold my hand. I can't cross the road.
Yeah.
But also in most cases, when it involves me crossing roads, I am not moving by myself. There's always someone who knows the problem and I'm moving with them. I have tried. So another thing, people should know that when you know I don't know if there's a word we can use other than a problem. When you know you're struggling with something, have people around you that know what you're struggling with. People who will accept you. People who will be there with you.
Yeah.
I can comfortably say that the first 5 contacts in my life, they literally know every single weakness and strength of me. So there is someone usually there when I'm going to Kampala because I don't really like being in Kampala. First of all, the crowd freaks me out. The noise freaks me out. The crossing of the road freaks me out. So there has to be someone with me for me to survive that Kampala. Yeah. And that means I don't just go to Kampala every day. When people hear me say Kampala, they would ask where I stay. I stay in Machindi. It is 5 minutes.
Is still Kampala.
It is 10 minutes from my place of work
Kampala district
to my home. I'm not into the middle of Kampala.
Yeah, you talk about the city maybe.
The city. So I am from home to my place of work. Most of it is 10 minutes. There's no jam, there's nothing. And from home, I'm going to work home. I'm not a very out person, which I would wish to be, but I know my problems. So I stay home. But have people that know who you are and what you struggle with. People who will not more like try to make you think you're overthinking or no, you're not sick.
You don't have to have
you
people
don't
that
have
are
to
going
have
to
people
extend the stigma.
Exactly. Don't have people that will extend the stigma. I want people to know that we have reached in a time where luckily people are getting more informed as far as mental health is concerned. People are out there who are willing to be your burden bearers. I was here last time and someone mentioned that word. There's always someone who's willing to be your burden bearer, and not in a way of like you are making life difficult for them. They're happily with love and acceptance available. The problem is not all of us have reached that space yet of opening that door, because somehow, sadly, mental health is still stigmatized, especially when someone comes out and say they're diagnosed with depression or anxieties or bipolar or many other things. The fear of being looked at in a sympathetic way, it is in your head kind of way, it is still quite big. But if you do get you're weak, I wish that's a conversation we need to have. If you get a chance that there is a Nabuguzi that you can always dial on a go, please use that chance. Not many people have that chance, but if you do, use that chance and dial the number. I usually tell people, you go to a therapist, you pay the money and whatnot, but as an individual, your first emergency person is the person who can open the door and find you. The person who can come before you cut that skin or before you swallow that medication. And that person is there. You just have to allow them to be there. Healing is not something that is going to happen to you and you're healed. It is not a headache. It is a condition that 2 months you'll be okay, and the next 3 months will really screw you up. Really. That is something we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
There are days that you go back to zero. The question is, when those days come, are you ready to accept? Because some just
them.
They're like, you know what, there's no end to this. And people will be comfortable. There are people who say, I am comfortably depressed.
This is who I am.
I said, no. Exactly. This is why. No, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
You get, there is more to who you are. It's not like every day going to tell me, I'm a clinically diagnosed with anxiety. No, I don't want to take on that name for myself. I know I have the disease, and every day it is an opportunity for me to find a better way of living by learning how do I control these episodes? How do I put myself in spaces where these episodes can be less? How do I put myself in spaces where if these episodes come, I accept them, handle them, and get out of them, you know, not take alcohol over them or swallow a drug over it. No. Now, I am a very coffee addict, and of course that is triggered by my anxieties because I just some point need to function. Or I am walking into something or a confrontation, like I said, I really struggle with, confront. And when I'm going to, I just have like to take about 6 cups of coffee and then enter the space with either a ball in my hand, or it's usually hard for me to hold a conversation with a person I'm staring straight at them.
Yeah.
Because I might cry or something. But like I said, every day is an opportunity for me to learn. How do I live beyond
the diagnosis? Yeah.
I mean, it's been over 10 years, but yeah, I can tell you that there are days when the episodes are really terrible. But I can say, at least for the past 6 years, 6 months, I've not self-harmed. Yes, I've not self-harmed. So that is a big achievement for me.
Yeah.
Quite big. Does that mean
looking
the episodes
forward-
don't happen anymore? They actually do happen. But I've found
better ways to deal with them.
to deal with it. I've learned that inflicting pain on myself does not help me. It hurts me more. And you know, there's something I do. Someone taught me this. My best friend, because he's the person like I call a lot. So he told me, I want you to look at your skin. Look at your skin. If there's one thing I know about you, you don't like, just when you get a pimple, which you rarely do, you freak out. So why would you want to harm your skin? Because it's you to look at those scars later when they heal. This time was really bad. I used to wear long sleeved for literally that. And so what would happen that when this episode is happening and I have a sharp something, I look at my skin and I say these words, my skin is beautiful and it's not worth of pain.
Yes, please.
I keep saying that. Your skin is beautiful, you're not worth of pain. Your skin is beautiful.
Words of affirmation.
Yes. And then breathe. And before I know it,
you're safe.
I'm safe. And I tell myself that you're safe, you're okay, you're strong, you're better.
It's very helpful.
And then I just sleep.
It's very helpful.
But I've also been, like I said, as a person who sometimes is on the front line of people who are having these very intensive attacks, I've also seen that there are people that cannot work. The speaking to them is not working.
Because they've not tried it.
They have not tried it. Or maybe because they don't believe that they have the power. Because also there's some time where we surrender our emotions so much the other person or someone else will figure it out. It's also very bad that as an individual, if you do not develop the sense of emotional intelligence and support for yourself, yes, your therapist is there, this best friend is there, but in the moment that Nabuguzi can't pick up that phone,
what is going to happen?
What will happen? Can you survive? This is something I tell my fellow mental health advocates and therapists when we meet. Teach your patients to be able to take care of themselves in your absence, because
it's very important.
Very
because
important.
Dependency
is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And as a person who has struggled with the dependency, I know. I think I attach so much. Like so much. Once I get attached to a person, it's quite hard to accept that they're leaving. But I think what has helped me is in my struggling with anxieties and whatnot, and learning that there are days where I'll call my best friend and he can't pick up. How do I survive? It's the same tactic I go with in friendships or relationships. I just leave knowing one day they might decide to wake up and I'm not good enough and they leave. Once they leave, what do we do? But also, of course, I've had people saying, no, that's bad. You go in a relationship with the mind of they will leave. I am not saying there's no, but yes, the point here is learn dependency. I am happy to offer you the first steps, but are you willing to take this on by yourself?
Yeah.
To have these conversations by yourself and talk through. Last time we were telling people, said, find out what works for you. Because what will work for me won't definitely not work for you.
It's not one shoe size. It's
like when I people tell you, oh, go to the gym. I don't even like being in the gym. Let's start from there. So how will that work for me? But there are various ways. But also you to know what works for you. Do you know that you have a problem? Do you accept it? Have you reached that acceptance place? Because you might listen to Nabuguzi's podcasts, which are amazing, and Sarah will say this and Rita will say that, but
there is a disclaimer. This is not, it doesn't replace a professional therapist. You need to seek help. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a whole episode that I have to that I have to dive into this. What could be your two parting shots?
Two parting shots. Healing is every day. Every day. Once you hit the button of acceptance, every day is healing.
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional. 2, there's always a number you can dial. Stop closing the door and feel like no one will understand me. There is someone that will understand you. I've had a lot of people say, no one will understand me. No, there is someone.
There is someone
who will understand you. Open the door and ask for help.
Yeah.
Please open the door. Please dial your number. Please, please, please open the door. People are dying. And we can do so much to stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about having 5 people, and I feel like onto your 2 parting shots, I want to add the 3rd.
Yes.
Find confidence.
Yes, please. Please find confidence. Please find confidence.
Confidence.
Please
people
do.
that you can confide in.
People you can confide in, yes.
Yeah.
See, as I conclude, I usually want to tell people that there's always someone behind the door. The question is, do you want to open the door? Because at the end of the day, we are not going to force the help to you. You have to need it. You have to need it. But how bad is it for you? Do you need it? You have to need the help, and you just have to open the door. We need, I keep telling people, stop being comfortable with, I'm a loner and it's okay. I hate people. I hear people say, I hate people. How are you supposed to live in this life when you hate people? And spread more kindness every day. A little more love, Naguzi. Is people are going through things, man, where I have met people and someone be like, can you just hug me? And I love hugging, and I just hold a person, hug them for as long as they need to be there, and we just go, and we have not said a word. So be intentional with people, and make yourself available if you can.
Yeah. If you can.
If you can.
It's very important. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for sitting in with us. We have come to the end, and I can only emphasize what Aimar said. Healing is every day, and it's never a straight curve. Make progressive effort on a daily basis. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Hashtag with Naguzi Chwanuka. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtag with Naguzi Chwanuka in your favorite podcast platform of choice, and share it with your friends, loved ones, and everyone that you believe is affected by the millennial world around us. Also, feel free to share your insights about what connected with you on social media, and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtag with Naguzi Chwanuka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter our handle is at HTNK Podcast. You can also use the hashtag HTNK in station. We look forward to hearing from you, and until next week, do everything to make sure that you heal.